Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be about Eschulist's beautiful 12-gallon Nano aquarium. This tank is stunning, and when I walked into his home and went down into his basement where his office is, this is what I got to see. This tank is 3 feet long, it's 8 inches wide, and it's 9 inches tall. It's made of low iron glass, and it is absolutely dead silent. That is the beauty of this tank. I mean, there are so many things to appreciate about it. But it's tiny, it's very, very clean. It's the epitome of bonsai reefing because you have to have the area to clean the glass on all 4 sides, which is tricky even on a regular tank. But in a situation like this, you need a tiny cleaning magnet, you need to have room for your drains and your returns, like you can see these on the ends. And there is a 1-inch drain on each end, there is a 1/2-inch return on each end that is submerged, so that way that's all the flow in the tank. There's no power heads, there's nothing to distract or to ruin the beautiful look of this aquarium. So let's talk about these drains. So you've got one 1-inch drain at each side, and one is a full siphon, and then one is a trickle over. Now what he did was he modified this screen and covered the inside so that way it would be full siphon. And then he did the exact same thing for the other side. But that one had the part where the trickle's in. So the way this works is water is going in quietly under the surface of the water and draining down that pipe into the sump. And it's actually handling most of the drainage. And then the other side trickles the last of it, which might only be 10% of the water. The principle behind this is to keep everything super quiet and have no bubbles whatsoever moving through the sump or into the return lines that could obscure the tank. But if that one main drain did have a problem, the other one would take over and be pretty noisy, giving you a heads up something needs to be corrected. Now what he's running is a beautiful mixed reef where you can notice there's LPS corals, there's SPS corals, there's zoanthids, there's a whole variety in here. And I asked him, what is your favorite coral out of all the ones in your tank? And surprisingly, it was the blue tort, which is, the Oregon tort, which is just, pretty much a standard coral these days. Most people don't even think about that, but he loves it because it's blue. Now, as you see him working the tank, you can get a sense of scale to how small it really is. And the backstory of this tank, it's been running. It got started in 2012 in his office. And he had a small tank, and he just snuck it in quietly. His boss didn't mind and allowed him to do what he wanted to do. And then he snuck in a bigger tank, which was this size tank. And he had that running in there for quite a while. And he had, some lights over the top, and of course he had to keep it super quiet because apparently what they do at his job has to do with video editing, so you can't have any kind of distractions. And yet he had this beautiful distraction next to his desk, and of course the other employees could see it as well. So when I got to see this tank, it was basically let's call it the version 2.0, because now it's on a beautiful stand. There's a whole bunch of really nice gear underneath. The tank was super clean. I mean, he keeps it clean. He's meticulous in that way and wants it to always be beautiful. I asked him some specific questions, such as how often does he do a water change, which he does every 2 weeks. And while he's doing it, he carefully siphons the sand bed as well. So that is helping a lot with the maintenance of this aquarium. He also runs carbon, he runs biopellets, he runs 2-part, and he has a whole bunch of Apex gear underneath that you're going to see here in a few minutes. But of course, what I wanted to showcase was the livestock, because he has all these beautiful animals in a very, very small biotope. And anyone out there would love to have a tank like this. I'm sure of it. I kind of want to set one up somewhere in my home now, even though that would be yet another tank. But no, let me not digress. The beauty of this system is its cleanliness and its quietness. The light fixture has a cooling fan in it, and that was the thing that you heard was a fan when the lights were warming up. But it's also got a huge heat sink, which helps immensely in dissipating that heat and reducing the amount of time that the fan does come on. Still, he would love it to be absolutely dead silent, where you never hear a single thing ever, which, I guess all of us want that. The tank itself, as I said, was low iron, which is basically like Starfire. The brand is Mr. Aqua. It's considered a 12-gallon tank. I found it available on BRS. Comes in a couple of different sizes if you're looking to get it, and it's not even that expensive. And then he drilled the holes himself where it would have the drains and the returns. And he kind of wished he had drilled the returns up a little bit higher so not as much water drains down during a power outage or when the return pump is turned off. The types of fish that he has in the aquarium currently is the purple mask angelfish, or C. venustus, the regular Ocellaris clownfish that his daughter wanted, a royal grama, a flame wrasse, a Midas blenny, a sunburst anthias, and temporarily he had a peppermint hogfish. But I think that one didn't work out because it was a little too aggressive toward that blood shrimp you're seeing. He also has a porcelain crab that lives in the rose bubble tip anemone. And then, you can just kind of identify some of these corals on your own. And if you can't, that's okay too. Because really, sometimes all that matters is the final look rather than trying to know the names of every single coral in a system. Now, of course, a lot of us like hammer corals and frog spawn. And these are safe corals to have. But in this aquarium, he would not be able to keep a torch because the sweepers would destroy everything in the tank that it could reach. And sweepers can extend out 8 inches or further. So let's start talking about this equipment. It's a quad nanobox LED fixture. He has PVC pipe that he bent himself using a very specific method of curling it so that it wouldn't have elbows. He has a beautiful black walnut stand that was made by Jason Langer. And then he started to design how he thought the equipment should go in there. And he was meticulous in his documentation on his build thread on Reef to Reef. He monitors the apex at all times at his desk so he knows what's going on behind him. And it's really nice to have that kind of control. But look at what's underneath, jammed into that stand. It's actually really, really impressive. And as I said, it was absolutely dead silent. You've got reactors in there. You've got 2-part. There's the top-off container in the front, the protein skimmer. There's a filter sock to the left that you'll see in a moment. His wire management is super tidy. And on the door, he's got the trident over there on the right side. He filled up the top-off container to the top and proved just how easy this is to do. And I was so impressed that he didn't miss. His ability to keep everything super tidy is so impressive, and everything is wiped down and so clean. Everything's affixed to the cabinets. That back corner, all the wires are tucked in under a little lid. There's his 2-part. In the front is the waste container for the trident. You've got his probes right next to the skimmer, the valves in the back, the reactors above. Again, that bent tubing. That was so well done, and it came out just perfect. I think all of us would love to have plumbing that is this tidy. And what's under that lid? That's a 7-inch filter sock that's only 8 inches tall. That's a custom-made thing. You can't find those easily. He found one website that offered these shorties, but that's very uncommon. Normally they're about 18 inches long. He's able to see his protein skimmer fully. That's the SR Aquaristic protein skimmer. And he can even see that it's sucking in the air properly. His baffles are adjustable on the sump. This was made by Zero Edge. And then he's using a Core 15 pump as his return pump. And that one barely fit. If you look there, there's half an inch between the acrylic wall and the pump itself, and yet it's sucking in enough water with no obstruction to get the water back up into the tank. One concern that I mentioned was the trident on a swinging door. Does that affect the tubing on the back? But he managed it perfectly so there was no issues whatsoever. And of course, I had to point out that he missed a spot. So there you have it. A ton of gear running an absolutely beautiful 12-gallon aquarium. And at this point here, he turned off the return pump to show how much water drains down into the sump, as well as to give us some really nice reflection shots, because as you guys know, I love reflection shots. And yes, the sump did not overflow. He did have to do some programming in the apex to control how the core pump flows, so when the power turns back on, it didn't overflow the tank as the siphon is trying to kick in, because that takes about a minute to get leveled out. But again, let's look at how pretty the tank is. I'm just so amazed. I am so impressed. It is so tiny. And you guys know I love tiny things. So this tank was completely in my wheelhouse, and I'm just sorry it took me this darn long to get it out. Now, he did put out an updated video about this tank earlier this month, so I'll put a link both to his build thread in this video's description, as well as to his latest video of the same tank, so you can see the differences that have happened since I filmed it. He prefers to feed his reef with fine-grade pellet food, such as TDO Chroma Boost from Reef Nutrition, sometimes Seaweed Extreme pellets, and then some frozen food he likes as a treat is called Calanus. So basically you're looking at a reef that runs with 2-part dosing, a filter sock, protein skimmer, a couple of reactors, a couple of small heaters, and then of course the return pump. And it has an apex, a trident, a dose for dosing, and the ATK for top off. That is the kind of gear that will make a tank like this a lot easier to maintain. But it still takes a very special aquarist to pull this off for this many years. Like I said, he started it in 2012, and here we are in 2021, and he's still showcasing a beautiful, beautiful tank on a daily basis and gets to enjoy it in the comfort of his home. So thank you, Eric, for letting us tour your tank, and we look forward to seeing how it does in the coming years ahead. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, and if you're not a subscriber of this channel yet, now is your chance to click the subscribe button so you don't miss the next video that gets uploaded. I'll see you guys soon.